So there's this sketchy looking little submarine that 5 rich people paid $250,000 to go on to see the Titanic, you know, the big ship that sunk because of the iceberg. There was a movie about it with Leonardo DiCaprio, I think. But these 5 people paid $250,000 to get in this submarine to see the Titanic. It is a cool thing to want to do. I can't lie about that. But the problem with that is we are not good at going into the deep sea. There's a reason majority of the ocean is unexplored. It is hard to get down in the deep sea because the pressure from the water is immense. Like if you guys know anything about scuba diving, if you go past a certain point, I think it's 30 or 20 feet, you need to slowly reascend no faster than 30 feet per minute, because if you go too quickly, you'll build up nitrogen in your bloodstream, and this will clog your bloodstream and kill you. It's been a while since I took that course, but I think that's what it is. And you know, huge issues like that start to arise at like 30 feet when you're scuba diving. The Titanic ship, the thing that sunk, is 12,000 feet under the water. It's a lot farther. If you left a submarine at that pressure, you would just instantly die. I feel like your lungs would collapse and your heart would stop beating because it literally couldn't because of the pressure. I'm not 100% sure on that one, but I'm pretty sure that's what would happen. Anyways, these 5 people were in this submarine, and this submarine went on its voyage to go see the Titanic, and we lost contact with it. Yeah, it's probably gone. At this very moment, according to this tweet, they have no oxygen left. So unless they had backup oxygen or they killed a couple people on board, they're probably dead. Now, I'm not one of those people on Twitter who's like, these people deserve to die, okay? But I will say, since I didn't know any of these people, I'm not really personally invested. I don't really care. It might be heartless for me to say, but like, I didn't know them. And honestly, this whole submarine was like the sketchiest thing to ever agree to. I would feel a little bit bad about it if this was like a flight, you know, like something that's like tested and true. Because it's like, if you just got in a plane and you randomly crashed, that is so out of the norm. But getting on this experimental submarine, yeah, you should have seen it coming. Like, they had to sign a waiver saying, yeah, you might die. So they should have kind of known this wasn't gonna go well. Again, I don't think they deserve to die, but at the same time, it is kind of funny that they paid this much money to go in the submarine, and it's like the sketchiest thing to ever exist. There was no backup system to find them. There's no beacon that they could have sent up to the surface. There was none of that. There was no fail-safe systems from what I understand. And then people who made this submarine even said this thing is ripe for potential with catastrophic problems. So this thing was never really safe. Again, I don't think they deserve to die, but I'm not going to sit here and be like, wow, that was so unexpected, because it wasn't. This thing was unsafe. Just look at it. It looks like a toy. It doesn't look like it can survive going 100 feet underwater, let alone 12,000. And I will say, it's also funny because the jokes that are being made, like for example, this game called Iron Lung, which is about being trapped in a submarine, got a lot of sales because of this happening. The creator of the game posted this graph of the sales just jumping up because of the situation. Good for that dude. From what I can tell, it's probably a good game. But overall, the Twitter landscape on this is either jokes or people thinking that this is the worst thing to ever happen and that no one should joke about it, or people who think that they actually just deserve to die. And again, I don't really care. I might be heartless, but I didn't know these people, and I don't know. This thing looks sketchy, okay? I also saw people say that like, oh my God, I can't believe they got into this. It has a game controller as the controls for the submarine. And I understand why people would see this if they don't know about like a lot of military stuff and assume it is dangerous because it does look sketchy. But this is actually pretty common practice in the military. The Navy's been doing this since at least 2017. And I know other parts of the military do this as well. It is a very common thing to use like Xbox controllers and stuff because they're really easy to interface with, and they're compatible with Windows. And a lot of military stuff uses old versions of Windows that no longer get updates because, you know, the internet is not good to be hooked up to a military machine because what if you get a virus or something? So they're usually pretty reliable, because if they weren't, the military just wouldn't use them. If they weren't reliable, they wouldn't have people pilot drones that bomb things with an Xbox controller. Okay, clearly there's something to this that's just working for them. But the problem with this controller is the fact that it's wireless. They got a wireless controller to control this submarine. I'm not opposed to wireless controllers on your gaming consoles, okay? It's gotten pretty good recently, but for a submarine? Really? When Smash players want to use a wired controller to not have that little extra delay, you pick a wireless controller? This to me is the dumbest thing in the world, because this might very well be why they're stuck. I don't know the details, but the deeper you go in the ocean, the more it messes with like radio signals and stuff. So like, they very well could have died because somebody didn't get a wired controller that was probably cheaper than the wireless one. That would be a massive blunder. That would actually be the worst thing in the world. I would feel bad at that point, because that is like the dumbest way to die. Like, when you die in a game because your controller disconnected, it's already one of the worst things in the world. Now imagine dying in real life because your controller disconnected. God damn. Like, that's actually terrible. Like, that is like the worst way to die. But yeah, using gamepads for stuff isn't new. It's pretty common, actually. So that's not really why this probably failed. This probably failed for a plethora of reasons. Like, I'm assuming a lot of things went wrong because, like, I don't think they were prepared for this at all. I don't know why you wouldn't have like 10 safety measures in place just in case things went wrong. I feel like that's probably the best move, but they didn't. They had like zero safety precautions in place, which is really weird to me. And apparently their toilet was like a plastic bottle or something, so that also kind of sucks. And even if we do find them, we probably can't even get them out because we don't really have anything that can easily go 12,000 feet under the water, let alone go 12,000 feet and then pick up something else that's 12,000 feet underwater and then bring it to the surface. From what I understand, that doesn't really exist. I could be wrong on this, but I feel like we know more about space than the ocean. The pressure is way too high. Most things just implode. Like 80% of the ocean is unmapped, unobserved, and unexplored. We just can't get down that deep because the pressure is just too immense for like anything that we have on Earth to actually go down and look at stuff. I'm sure someday we'll figure it out and be able to go down there fairly easily. But at this very moment in time, we don't really invest in tech to get to the bottom of the ocean. And there hasn't been a massive push to get to the bottom of the ocean. Like the space race was a race. We really made sure we were getting to the moon. If there's one thing America excels at, it is competition, okay? Like if some country was like, oh, we're gonna get to the bottom of the ocean before anybody else, America would be like, no, you're not. And we just build like the best submarine to ever exist. I truly believe that. But yeah, we really don't have ways to get to the bottom of the ocean. So even if we did know where they were, there's not much we can do to like get them out because they are so far down to the ocean floor that we have nothing that could go down there and help them. And earlier when I said the submarine had like no safety redundancies, I meant that. It has like basically none. Apparently it was supposed to resurface itself after like 24 hours, but that didn't happen. So I guess their one system that was meant to make them resurface didn't work, which I don't know why you wouldn't have like 4 backup systems for that. I don't know. That feels like something I would want to do if I was going 12,000 feet underwater and I knew there was absolutely no way I was getting out unless those systems worked. I'm honestly kind of surprised this thing was even allowed to like set off. I feel like if the government knew about this, they wouldn't let it happen because if they haven't done it, I doubt a commercial submarine thing could safely. I don't know. I feel like it'd be really advantageous to have submarines at the bottom of the sea floor. I feel like the US would have figured it out by now if it was like really super easy to do. And we have massive regulations for like boating and stuff, as well as like aircraft. It's kind of crazy this was even allowed to take place. I feel like they might have broken some kind of rule or something and they were just hoping that it would go well so they wouldn't get in trouble if it did go well. But they did break some kind of rule and it ended up like this with 5 people dead. They're kind of screwed. But ultimately, I think it'd be better if by some miracle we did find them and pull them up. I don't think that's gonna happen though. I just don't see it. And apparently the submarine did pass safety specs before it set out on its voyage. But at the same time, they still had safety concerns about the submarine and they sent it off anyways. It might have passed the safety checks that they had in place, but they probably didn't have enough of them, especially since people who made it were like, hey, this thing's kind of dangerous. I don't know if we should be doing this. And you guys might think my take's insensitive, okay? And that's fair. But one of the guy's kids who's on this submarine is literally just flirting with OnlyFans models on Twitter. Who's really insensitive here, me or this doofus? But what do you think? Let me know in the comments down below. Like and subscribe if you follow me on Twitter @Spaz1. Click the interesting and check out more of my content and have a good one.